Hey everyone, what's up and welcome back to How to Become an Animator. I'm Sir Wade and today we're going to tear apart some work, my work. Now I haven't shared a whole lot of my animations that I've created on this YouTube channel. I have some stuff from growing up and when I was an animation mentor in school, and then I got hired at DreamWorks and everything kind of disappears. Now, the main reason for that is because while I was at DreamWorks, I was usually animating characters that were unreleased, and so I couldn't share them publicly, and so on, things like that. And if you watched my Why I Left DreamWorks video, you know that I applied to be an animator on How to Train Your Dragon 3. So I did have a demo reel in the end of 2017. And in the beginning of 2018, I left the company. And if you guys saw that video, you know that I haven't done much animation in 2018 because I was traveling, I was doing YouTube, I was trying to figure out this whole freelance thing. And so I did some animation, but nothing worth putting on my reel. But I thought it'd be fun to take a look with you at my demo reel that I applied with and tell you what I like about the shots, tell you what I don't like about the shots, and just give some feedback because I can be as direct and harsh as I need to be since it's my work. Also, side note, this video is sponsored by Skillshare. We'll talk about that later. But you guys are always asking for different ways to learn stuff, especially on a budget, and I have a code that gives you 2 months of classes for free, and we'll get there. But for now, let's dive right in. We're gonna take a look at my demo reel. This is technically a reel of everything I had through 2017. I didn't add anything in 2018, but it's still my 2018 animation reel. So if you guys haven't seen this website before, this is SyncSketch. It is a free platform, is what I use to review all the work always. All right, so first thing we'll do, let's just watch it once.
I've known Toothless for 12 years, but he and I haven't worked together in a while. But it was like riding a bike. As soon as we have a thing, and we just kind of connected, and all of us did.
You'll notice I don't have any music. That's on purpose, and we'll talk about that in a little bit.
This is it. But it's not only about that. These days, there are so many people who are very good at their jobs who cannot find a job.
So I only have 4 shots, but I do have one more thing at the end. That one hurt. So that's my reel as of the end of 2017, 2018. And it's really short, there's only 4 shots. Now, only 2 of those shots are actually something I would show to people, the Hiccup Shot and the Grimille Shot, the 2 dragon shots. The 2 middle shots you saw are actually from my time at Animation Mentor because I hadn't done a decent body mechanics shot since that time. I also didn't have anything cartoony. So I have this Hiccup Shot and then it goes into a body mechanics shot that is kind of old. Actually, it's very old. It was from my class 2 Animation Mentor. And then I have this shot, which is from class 4 at Animation Mentor, I think. It was my cartoony shot. And then it goes to my most recent shot, which is this one, which you'll also notice is polished up to the halfway point, and then it's in blocking. Overall, it's kind of a terrible reel, just in terms of preparedness. Now, I have 2 character acting shots. Both of them have a character sitting, so there's really no variety there. And then I have an old body mechanics shot and an old body mechanics cartoony shot. Overall, in terms of structure, I would give this reel a pretty bad rating just because I don't have a lot of variety. Again, you should always be trying to update your reel with like lots of different kinds of shots. This is a terrible example of doing that, which, you know, maybe that's why I didn't get the job. And so the feedback I had gotten on this reel was the newer shots, the 2 dragon shots, were positive. It was positive feedback, and that I needed more of it, that they just couldn't tell enough about my skills from this short reel. There were no recent body mechanics. There was very little mechanics in general, since both characters are sitting, you don't get a sense of weight, so on, so on. That was the major feedback, that I just need to do more stuff. And I would agree, and so that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be redoing my entire reel, which is why I'm kicking this off now, because I figured let's look at what I'm lacking, right? So let's break this up. Let's start with shot number 1, Hiccup. Now, this shot, let's play it one more time.
I've known Toothless for 12 years, but he and I haven't worked together in a while. But it was like riding a bike. As soon as we have a thing, and we just kind of connected, and all of us did.
So the original goal with the shot was I wanted to take audio from some interview where he's talking about Seth Rogen or something, and I wanted to splice in the word Toothless to make it sound like he's talking about Toothless and make this whole thing feel like it's like an interview for the 3rd movie on the DVD bonus features or something. That was the vibe I was going for. I filmed a reference and I stuck really, really, really closely to the reference. Too close, actually. I made it so close to the reference that it felt like motion capture. It was not entertaining. It was not fun to watch. It was so detail specific. There was too much going on. So I spent a ton of time pulling a lot of that out, trying to then push it after I'd already done every key in the entire shot. And then I didn't even do the face. I didn't touch the face up to that point. I went a little too far into a workflow that I had been trying. I like using reference to kind of go off of, but I definitely went too far. And I didn't remember things about entertainment and pushing things. And anyway, this is the final result. Now, this shot took me about 3 months to do because of that workflow, and that's way too long. I think this shot should have been 3 weeks at the level I was at, maybe a month. If I did it now, I could probably do it much, much better, hopefully in like 2 or 3 weeks, which I think is closer to what would be expected of this shot. I don't know. I didn't get hired. I didn't get the job, so I couldn't tell you. Some of the things I like about this shot, and some things I don't. Some of the things I do like are some of those little tiny details, some of the finger motions. I like the gestures. I like the acting choices. I like this. I like that little thing. That all came from my video reference, and I was pretty satisfied with that. It's not the most exciting choices. The shot is overall not very entertaining, I feel. I feel like it's okay. I just feel like it's okay. And some things that I think that could be better. This weight shift is the thing that most people told me, like, oh, that weight shift's good. It feels like he's got weight. The mechanics are solid. And I hope that's true. I do feel like it's a little boring, though. And again, this is my opinion. Nothing I say in this entire clip is right or wrong. I did these shots, and now I'm looking back at them and telling you kind of what my thought process is, but I'm not the person who's going to look at this reel and decide whether or not someone like this would get hired. So, again, take everything I say with a grain of salt. Don't take everything I say as fact. It's just opinions, just the way is my current level at the time of the recording of this video that I feel this way about these shots. That's my disclaimer. Moving on. Some things about this shot. So his face is super dead. I feel like the face is so like dead-eyed and like lifeless, which I knew even at the time. 73 all the way to like 108. That entire range, there's hardly any motion in the upper face. This whole zone, whoops, let me get a better color. This entire zone is totally frozen. This entire zone is completely frozen. There's nothing going on. The eyes are like dead, and they're also very wide. So he's just like, to me, it just feels like he's sitting there like this, like drooling out the side of his mouth. He just looks so dead. And then he finally starts to move around a bit, and I just feel like the face never really, like here, again, we're back to that same face pose. He's just like, I don't know. I hate how bland the face is. And there are times where he gets into it. He's thinking, he's supposed to be showing more emotion, and I think at times it works. But he always kind of returns to this same blank stare. I'm gonna try and move through these notes faster. I wanna make this not a super long video. I like these little details in the fingers here. And this is a style thing. Not every shot would maybe have all this much fidelity, but I like that the fingers kind of relax and move, and that was something that I kept from the mocap. Not the mocap, something I kept from the reference. That originally looked very mocap-y, having all that little detail, but I left a few pieces in there because I thought they looked nice, and I liked those finger motions. There are other times where the hand just feels very bland. He goes from this pose, and he stays in that pose, and the hand just kind of rotates around. All through here. I tried to put in a little bit of like overlap or something, but there really wasn't a whole lot in here. I just had a couple poses, and the fingers feel very flat. Here the fingers go from all splayed out nicely. They close a little bit right here for this kind of generic pose, and then they reopen into this new pose, which is very, very similar to that pose. And they just kind of closed in for a second. So again, I don't think I put enough thought into the hands. Same thing for the other hand. If you look at it, it's kind of gnarled up here, and then it just kind of flaps open and sits there, and it's not very interesting. And maybe it doesn't have to be the most beautiful hand pose. I just think I could have done better. There's one part I do kind of like is when he does the thing right here. I did have a moment where for me this was a victory when I was like, I departed from the reference, because that was my struggle. Is like I was following the reference really closely, but the problem wasn't that I was following my reference. The problem is that I didn't push anything. If you just copy the reference, then you're just gonna get a live action performance in an animated medium with stylized characters that's gonna look really boring and flat. And so you have cool looking Hiccup with regular me motion, and that just doesn't fit. Hiccup should be a little bit more exaggerated, like more shoulder action, like he should just be doing more fun things. So for me, when I was like, I pushed the fingers, I had them like splay out and spread out a little bit, and they all scaled. I actually scaled the fingers like out a tiny bit. Probably could have gone farther, but just to get that pop, So if we play it at speed, it looks like this. Just to give it something. Now, that was something I was pretty happy with, and even now, I was like, yeah, I see that. I see that I did that, and that's nice. But I think it's time to move on to another shot. But the last thing I'll say is, aside from the face being dead, the hands being bland, and the overall body acting being very stiff, I think I could have done a lot more shape changes. Like, he may be sitting in a chair, but that doesn't mean he has to sit the same way the whole time. One note I got at the beginning of this shot from my old animation mentor, Sean Sexton, is I should have him a lot more like slouchy. If he's so relaxed, he should be much more slouchy. And at the time, he started off much like straighter up than he is here. And so I thought I hit that note. But looking at this, it's like, he doesn't look very slouchy. He should really be like, you know, arm over the back of the thing, you know, well, even his head could be like, the idea is here that he's like very relaxed. He's just like chilling in his chair, and he really should have him really slouchy. And I did not do that because at the time I was like, oh, if I push him that far, then I won't know how to like connect it to the reference. And that's just something I should have learned. If I draw that pose and then we look at his actual pose, he seems very like uptight, right? That is so much more expressive than that. So anyway, that's one last thing. And then the final thing, shape change wise, is like he kind of goes to like, you know, push. Oh man, this IK elbow, I had to figure out a way to get the elbow into IK, which I think with the DreamWorks rigs is supposed to be really easy, but I didn't know how to use the tool yet. I was just starting off and learning this. I was learning the software by doing the shot so that I could teach the software in my job as a trainer. It was a good exercise, but I didn't know how to get the IK elbow to lock it down to the armrest so that he could move his arm around, but he'd be leaning on his arm. He'd be leaning on his elbow, so I wouldn't have to like FK it. I started off FKing it, it got horrible. I found a way to like lock it down, and then I had a lot of trouble with it. So anyways, we have this pose where he's kind of trying to get up. I think this could be much more interesting. So, you know, one thing you can do is you can either grab the background color and start painting out your character, which is very easy to make it look more like that, just so you have room to draw and you can see what's going on. Or I can just use the tracing paper and so we can see it a little bit better. Now I think there could have been a better separation between torso and body. Anyway, just something like this, just to give, I don't know, a little bit more of like a compression, of like a shape change here where the body really comes forward and breaks through here where you have a separation. Get the shoulders pushed up a lot more. Really get like this angular pushing of the arm, straight arm here, and maybe the wrist doing something to show that pushing down with an arm. I don't know, I feel like that's a thing that people do. Versus this, I don't know, I just feel like this could have been a lot better, could have been a lot more pushed, a lot more interesting, both in the face and the body. The mechanics are okay, acting's all right, but overall, it's not as much fun to watch, which means, that's that. So then I jumped over and I did this shot. Now, before I dive into this one, I'm gonna take a second and we're gonna pay some bills. I mentioned this video is sponsored by Skillshare, and the reason I wanna tell you guys about this at all is because a lot of you guys are always asking me how to learn things, whether that's animation or how to learn Maya or After Effects or Cinema 4D or Blender. Some people ask me for, and I don't know Blender, so I can't help you. But people ask me all the time how to learn different stuff, and I am always recommending different resources and schools and programs. Sometimes I do workshops, but something that everybody can use. Skillshare is a website with tons and tons of classes ranging from all different categories, from design, illustration, entrepreneurship, photography, filmmaking, and so on. But where it matters for us is there's a whole creative section where you can find animation, visual effects, and all kinds of different useful things like that. Some of the ones I thought I'd show you guys is if you go to the animation category, there's stuff on After Effects, there's stuff on Maya, there's all kinds of different programs and software you can learn. You guys are always asking about ZBrush and sculpting, modeling, things like that. There's a whole section on 2D animation if you want to do illustration, character design. You can jump over to 3D animation, which has a lot of software stuff, but it gets more specific to things like 3D modeling. You can go to character animation specifically, and depending on what you're trying to do, these classes can help take you a lot farther, a lot quicker than you'd be able to do teaching yourself. It can be tricky sometimes finding something that's more advanced than a tutorial, but also not quite as intense as an actual class or school. And so I think for less than $10 a month, if you buy the whole annual thing, you get everything on the website. You can freely go through all the classes. But even better, because they're sponsoring today's video, they've given us this link, and the first 500 people to use this link get 2 months free of Skillshare for all the classes that you want to learn. So if you're interested in any of that stuff and you want to check out the website and learn some new tools, new skills, new softwares, whatever, even if it's outside of the bounds of animation, doesn't matter, click on this link down in the description and you'll get 2 free months of learning. And a slight advantage here goes to those of you who are subscribed, if you're not already, hit the button, and who have the notification bell turned on so that when I post, you get a notification saying that I uploaded. When more things like this happen, that it's kind of a limited supply and you gotta come quick, it's gonna help if you're subscribed with the bell on. So let's take a look at this Grimille the Grizzly shot with the villain from How to Train Your Dragon 3. No spoilers here.
This is it. But it's not only about that. These days, there are so many people who are very good at their jobs who cannot find a job.
So the story here is that I saw a character test being done by Ronnie Namani, who was the animation supervisor on Grimille. He was in charge of this character, developing him and playing with the rig, testing it, doing all that stuff. So Ronnie actually coached me through this entire shot, so I have him to thank for this shot being so much better than my Hiccup Shot. Now I left the company about halfway through finishing the shot, which is why the second part is all in blocking. I left DreamWorks, and you can't take it, like, I can't use the software outside of DreamWorks, and I no longer have a login at DreamWorks, so even if I were to go back and visit, I can't access my account. It's, you know, so this shot is what it is. It's unfinished, and that's that, and I haven't been able to show anybody for like a year, so I'm hoping, one thing, I'm hoping that right here, I'm hoping that you laughed at that, or smiled, or at least was like, fun, because that was the entire thing that I based this shot around. I wanted to do that, because he did something really interesting in his shot, and I was like, oh, it'd be cool to do like mouth stuff. So that was the whole purpose of this shot, was that moment. So I hope you laughed. If you did, let me know what you thought of that moment, because I haven't been able to get any feedback on it for a year, so I'm hoping you liked it. Some things I do like about this shot. The face was the goal. The face was the whole purpose of the shot. I wanted him to feel much more fleshy, much more organic, much more expressive and alive. So, and that all the way up until here, it was Ronnie's good advice that I originally had like a whole pose change. He was gonna go like his whole body was gonna move. But Ronnie suggested, no, it's funnier if you just keep it localized to that area. And I think I could have done a little bit better of integrating it. Like his eyes get a tiny bit of change, you can't really tell. This shot is a little bit too subtle for my liking. I think I could have pushed it more again. I have a tendency to go more realism with my shot. I just happen to do that. It's probably all the VFX movies I watch, but I have a tendency to lean more realistic with my animation, and I'm trying to get a little bit more stylized and cartoony and pushed, and I think that's what this shot could have used. It's much more pushed than anything I had done before in terms of the acting and having this waving, and that was really hard trying to get that to read. But some of the things I like about the shot, I actually really like that little flourish. I like, and what he does with the syringe vial thing, I like the kind of whipping he has with that, the motion. I tracked my arcs very carefully, and I'm still pretty proud of how that motion overall looks.
This is it.
So,
but it's not only about that.
I like the organicness of that. I spent a lot of time trying to make sure that there was a good contact between the elbow right here and this knee. So when that hits, they lock together, and there's like a little bit of a jiggle that happens, if you can see it. So there's little things in there that I like, a little attention to detail, like, oh, he hits it and things react. Or one thing I still like about the shot is how expressive he is. He's like, you can tell there's expression changes, you can tell there's giant mouth shapes, and I like how when he's talking, he has these big, like, pronounced shapes that come off of his face. I was like a 2D character. Like this, it's like, oh, this like thing coming off, this cone off of his face here, this like duckbill thing happening. I still really like all the poses I hit, but there are like little tiny things that I've noticed that, and these probably don't make that big of a deal, but there are things that I've noticed. Like for example, here when he's saying his line.
But it's not only about that.
It's not only about that. And then there's like a nice at the end of that, his T sound.
Not only about that.
You can hear that right at the end. Now, if I can zoom in here.
But it's not only about that.
I feel like most of that reads pretty well, except for that last T. I don't see that happening. I must have missed that because, oh, that's another thing I missed also. That's another thing I missed, before I get to the mouth shape thing, is there's this breathing in noise. He has this sound of the inhale, and I don't see that in the nose. Like I remember putting it in there, and I can kind of see a change if I just go here. There's like a slight moving up of the nostril, but it's nothing. I don't think it's good enough. I think I could have had I should have had like a I don't know, that face, because you can hear it, but you can't see it. So I think I missed an opportunity there to like anticipate the face change, like, and like to lead into something. I think I missed that. So
It's not only about that. But it is not.
So that's not only. And I like that his tongue sticks out here. This is that only, because you don't usually stick your tongue out for L. L, L. Normally the L sound is O. It's behind your teeth. It's a tongue. Oh, tongue going up the top of your mouth. But his mouth is so far pointed down, I wanted to still show that, so I have him only, whatever. So I feel like anytime I talk about lip sync on this channel, it's going to be fun to watch because I'm just going to be making faces at you the whole time. But anyways, I still like those little shapes. And like that compression, there's very little I could do because his face was so angled away. And I don't remember how involved I was in this process. Like how, I remember enjoying this part, but I don't remember doing it. I must have been in the zone, I don't know. I like most of it. And then same here, the TH, the tongue shows a little bit. And then there, that shape was supposed to be the T, but I didn't hold it long enough. I didn't get there quick enough or hold it long enough, because then it goes right into the next face, because I was preparing for the pause before. I was trying to kind of build that up. I should have done something different with the frames, because I just don't read that sound. I see it there when I frame through. I'm like, yeah, there's the T shape, but I don't see it when we play.
But it's not only about that.
It just doesn't feel like it's there. I don't know. So, I mean, minor things there. I haven't done enough animation since this shot to feel like I don't know, to see more of the issues. I'm sure there's more. I think the emotions are fairly clear, but the facial animation could have been more pronounced. I think there could have been more that I did. I should have had more like connected tissue. He should have like moved his nostrils, moved his face, more squishing, scrunching. The eyes should have been more active, I guess.
But it's not only about that.
I feel like I could have done a little bit more with the face there. I wanted to localize it, but I still should have involved more of the face. It was too subtle. I think this shot overall is just too subtle. And obviously,
These days there are so...
it's not finished. So I'm not going to give any more feedback on that because it's not done. And there's nothing I can do to change that. And there's not enough here to critique. Now that's enough on that shot. Now the last two shots I can hit very quickly because they're so old and there's really not a whole lot to say about them. Turn on my volume. I don't like these shots. I don't like them at all. I didn't like them at the time. I put them on my reel because I just felt like my reel was too short without anything, and I didn't show any body mechanics, and I only showed sitting characters. So I put these on just to have something. And I don't know whether that's the right or the wrong call. I'm really not sure. And if there's any other animators out there who want to drop in on that topic, throw it down below. But I just felt like I should show that I can do body mechanics, even if this isn't my best work. I just didn't have anything else, which the moral of the story is animate more, put more stuff on your reel, keep it more up to date. I got complacent when I was at DreamWorks. I got too comfortable. I got there and I stopped animating because I was like, I need to go to my job, which I think was a good idea. I wasn't like hired into this department and trying to get into this one. I was focused and doing a good job at what I was there to do, what I was hired to be doing. But then I never really reignited that spark. I would work on these shots, but I didn't work as hard as I should have. I just got comfortable and I was like, this is nice. I'm learning. And then time went by. And then a year went by and I had one shot to show for it, the Hiccup Shot. And then the second year I had the Grimille Shot and a few other little tests that went unfinished. But when you're hungry for this stuff, you gotta work hard, and I didn't work hard enough. And so I didn't have a whole lot to show, which is why my reel is so short and why I don't think it's good enough to get hired at a place like DreamWorks, and which is why I probably didn't get the job on Dragons 3, which makes sense. So anyway, take this as like information that you should be diversifying your reel with lots of different things. And if you have like shots from school, you should probably replace those pretty quick. I probably shouldn't have done 2 sitting character shots. I should have done 1 maybe sitting character shot and then something else so that I had more variety anyways. This is a shot I did in body mechanics. It's okay. It's referenced off of my parkour stuff. And I'll just go back and hit that really quick. I did the whole thing in IK, which was a nightmare. IK is the one where you grab the wrist and you place the wrist. And that was good for putting the hands on the thing. But the swinging, arcing, and like grabbing, that was a nightmare. I tried to reopen it at some point later, I remember. and I couldn't do anything with it. Like it was so hard to work with. I should have been an FK, switched to IK. I have a video on that if you're curious, if you don't know what I'm talking about. But problems with this one, there's several. Some of the main problems I have with this shot are the spacing, for example. Oh, let me use a different color. I'll show you like where the hips are. Okay, so if we just quickly track this arc, this is the only thing I'm really going to focus on for this shot. There's posing, there's things that it's an old shot. But just to give some feedback on it is, remember that everything is a bouncing ball. The hips are a bouncing ball. They're the main core of the character. It's your center of gravity, which is why they call it the cog, the center of gravity. That control around the hips is usually called the cog or the COG, center of gravity. And that's where most of your mass is concentrated. So when you jump, when you flip, when you do different things like that, that's usually the pivot point for most of the actions. If you don't know what I'm talking about, basically just think of the hips as the hips and the butt are that like center of gravity. It's the ball that everything kind of has to work around. It's usually where you start your blocking if you're doing body mechanics, usually, I think. That's what I would generally say, but again, grain of salt. If we track the motion of that ball, of the hips, it's not a very good arc. It has this weird like bend up in it. It's not smooth. The spacing is really weird. Like he goes into this like jump, but he doesn't like jump and leap, and the spacing shows like he's down here, and then he goes woo, and then up, and then like hang time, fall back down, whoosh, slap. Like that's that kind of a bouncing ball timing of more keys at the top, less at the bottom, going giving that more pushed, exaggerated gravity thing. This is very smooth. He just kind of like floats up into the air. He slows down a bit here, and he just very slowly continues up in this like straightish line. He really just kind of does that. And then he falls down. He falls down, and then somehow he like picks up a bunch of speed, and technically it's because that right knee is raising up really quick, giving its momentum to the hip to kind of push it up. From the parkour mechanics, I know that that's technically what's supposed to happen here. But it doesn't read properly, because then he just like floats here at the top and then like levitates higher, and the body moves. It's just very weird. The first thing I would do if I were going to redo the shot or diagnose the problems is I would go back to the hips, and I would just turn everything off, and I would just get the hips working right with the right timing, right spacing, and I'd go from there. And that's all I really want to talk about with this shot. This was supposed to be my cartoony shot. This is actually like half of the shot. The first half I didn't like, so I cut it and I put this on the reel. Things that could have been done differently very quickly. Let me just paint that out. Overall, I think the posing could have been stronger. Like this like higher up would have been, I don't know, it would have supported the line of action more, versus that. I just think I could have done better posing wise. This pose could be better in general, but let's leave it at that. And then here, I have this arm come out and pull him, and he gets, and I remember doing this frame and thinking like, oh yeah, I'm really pushing that. Look at me go. And sure, it's not like terrible, but the main thing that I don't like about this anymore, if I track this, see how right here it's like frozen in place, it then moves back, and then it freezes again, and then it flies this way very linearly. So here, if we look at it, the hand comes out, it stops in place to open up, that's okay. And then it like has this like down thing. I don't think that, it like does this weird like reverse thing. I don't know, I think that could have been cleaner. Comes down, swings out, and again, posing, not gonna talk about it. It then comes out, and I left it in place. I remember trying to show the grab. So I had it kind of freeze in place, but I think it freezes too much. It like gets there, stops, grabs, like it doesn't move. It should follow through. But he grabs it, he pulls it back, and then he stops again for like two or three frames. Like he doesn't move. Right here, nothing happens. And then he pulls back. I think two things that could have been stronger are as if the hand like came out, you see it, and it goes, the hand comes out, gets here, maybe it pauses as it like does its follow through. The fingers should maybe start to wrap or something, and then just in one motion, whoosh, the grab and the pull could happen at once, which causes a much quicker reaction through the shot. Or if he somehow like knocked him down, like grabbed his foot and knocked him down to show like, oh, he's down. What? Something like that. I don't know. I just feel like the idea here must have been show the grab, show the pull, then do it. And it didn't accomplish that. I think it just cause like weird jitter frames. So if we watch it back, to me it just feels kind of staggered and weird. It feels like there's hitches in the animation. And then here his face is kind of obscured again, obscured right across the middle, obscured down here, and then finally we can kind of see I remember squashing his face down here and kind of push him down. And then again, he's already moving. Like there's no time to see what's happening, but I think I could have done a lot better trying to like, maybe I could have had him like turn and something where he opens up to camera maybe? I don't know. But I think it would have been better to see the face without an arm in front of it, if possible, and I'm sure I could have found a way to do it. Also, I should have squished the body more if I was going for a flat, I don't know. Looking at your old work can be painful at times. Other times you look at it and you're like, it's still good. And you want it to be painful. You want to look back at your work and not like it versus looking at your old work and saying, oh, it's still good. Because you want to grow and get better, and the better you get, the more you can look back at your old stuff and say, ooh, I don't want to look at that anymore. And so it's a good way to kind of measure your growth. And the speed at which people grow is different depending on a million different things, and everyone starts off at the beginning, and people get better at different amounts of time. So don't compare yourself to other people, compare yourself to yourself. I look at my old animation mentor shots on here and I go, ooh, I don't like them. I look at my Hiccup Shot and I actually don't like that one the most. That's the one I like the least of these 4 shots. I think just because, like, to me it represents a failure to work hard. I had 3 months I worked on that shot. I had a terrible workflow where I was like not pushing things, and I wasn't thinking like an animator. I was just copying stuff. I didn't inject any creativity into the shot, basically. To me, that shot has problems, and they're problems not with the animation as much as problems with my own self-discipline. So I hate that shot because I hate how lazy I was during that time. But I'm really proud of the Grimille Shot because that was me deciding, no, that took me too long. I'm gonna do the Grimille Shot. And I did the Grimille Shot in like 2 or 3 weeks, I think, of probably actual work time, which is much better. And it wasn't finished, but I like it more. And I think it fixed a lot of the problems that the first one had. And anyways, you have to do that. Challenge yourself to like make more stuff and get better constantly. And so that's what I'm doing. I've looked at this reel. This is what I had in the end of 2017, 2018. It is now 2019. We're in the office. We're here back in LA. That's the point of me coming back to LA, is I'm ready to animate again. And so I'm hoping that this time next year, we can make another video that says reviewing the 2019 reel, and I can review everything I make from here on out for the rest of the year. And hopefully at that time I say this is all garbage, because hopefully I've gotten better to say, well, hopefully it's not garbage, but you get what I'm saying. Hopefully this year goes and I make much more stuff. And to make sure I do it, I've decided to kind of give myself accountability. There are 2 things I'm gonna be doing. To redo my reel, I will be live streaming all my animation. Every time I'm animating something, I'll probably take pieces and take recordings and, you know, shove it down, and I'll make videos about this stuff, I'm sure. But I actually will be live streaming when I'm animating over on Twitch, and I won't be really engaging. I won't be answering questions, I won't be teaching, I won't be doing any kind of training stuff. I just want to have people kind of looking over my shoulder who are, you know, you're welcome to watch, or if it's useful to you to watch me work. Again, I don't promise to like be anything super useful or insightful. I'm just gonna sit there and animate for hours and hours. But if you want to have it on to watch, cool. I can't slack off if there are people watching. I can't check my phone and just start scrolling mindlessly if there's people on the stream. So that's kind of my intention of when I'm working on my reel. I'm gonna be just live streaming, but I won't be engaging. I'll just be working. Now, if you want to be a part of animation live streams where I'm actually useful and helping and like trying to do something cool, over on Patreon, I mentioned it all the time, but something new I've decided to do is to every month, at least once a month, I want to do it more and more as long as I have time. And the more people who sign up to do it, the more time I'll have to just do that. I'm gonna set aside at least 1 day every month, whether it's a couple hours or the entire day, whatever it takes to complete this. I wanna live stream animation, but you pick the rig, you pick the topic, you pick the shot, like you tell me what to animate. If you say, do a bouncing ball, I'll do a bouncing ball. If you say, take a dragon and have it eat somebody, then I'll do my best. No promises it's gonna be great, because again, I haven't been hired as a professional animator anywhere, but I feel like I'm close. I feel like I'm getting there. I feel like I'm in the ballpark, and I just need more practice. I need to do more things, and I just work better when I'm around people. Being on YouTube, there's no people, so I'm gonna live stream and do that. Anyway, that's a thing on Patreon. Go check it out, as well as a bunch of other stuff over on the platform, but link is down below. If you're interested in being a part of that and you want me to test out different rigs and just try out different animation stuff, we're doing that starting this month. But anyways, that's all I got for today. Thank you all for watching all the way to the end, and thank you to Skillshare for helping to keep the lights on, for sponsoring this video. And you guys don't forget to use that link. The first 500 people get 2 months free of Skillshare, tons of classes. Take advantage of it. All right, I'm done. Thank you again, and I will see you guys in the next video.